It is a case that has so many unanswered questions, perhaps the biggest being, where is Ava Gonzalez? This is a picture of the last time she was seen when she was just 2 years old. This picture is from 2017. Here is the progressed image, trying to estimate what she may look like today at 9 years old. Right now, her mom's in jail, and one of her 7 other children that we know of, a 7-year-old, was allegedly found in a closet weighing less than 30 pounds with brain damage because she had been starved so badly, according to police. We found this mom's Facebook page, and you won't believe the post she allegedly wrote just months before her then 2-year-old vanished. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We are trying to get as much information as we can, whether it be from police or from people who knew Virginia Gonzalez. She is the mom who is currently in jail. It's been a week since Austin police said the 33-year-old was put under arrest, and we're trying to learn more about her. And I'll show you the person who she was on social media, it seems, in just a moment. But this is what we know right now as police are searching for a girl who was 2 years old when she was last seen in the custody of Gonzalez, they say, in 2017. On April 3rd of this year, police received a 911 call that a 7-year-old was trapped in a closet in an apartment complex in southeast Austin, Texas. The caller, according to KVUE-TV, which reviewed the arrest documents that Austin police have yet to release to us, was the child's grandmother. Police say the child's mom, Virginia Gonzalez, had locked the 7-year-old in the closet for weeks. That 7-year-old weighed just 29 pounds. That is the weight of some toddlers. Police say the child was starving and malnourished. Now, it's hard to grasp the conditions that this child was in inside this complex. The closet apparently didn't have light or ventilation. The closet was only 5 feet 2 inches tall. That gives the child only about 10 inches of space to move. Police say Virginia Gonzalez allegedly only gave the 7-year-old a corn dog and a half cup of water a day. Police say the physical damage of this alleged neglect and abuse was so bad, the child now has brain damage. There were 6 other children in that unit. The children were reportedly between the ages of 2 and 14 years old. According to KVUE, they said that their mom, Virginia Gonzalez, ordered the girl to be locked in the closet because the 7-year-old child was having issues controlling her bladder and, quote, always getting into stuff and eating things that she was not supposed to. But that, for as shocking as it is only one part to this story, because police say in finding that 7-year-old girl allegedly trapped in the closet, the 6 other children in that apartment unit, they say they realized one of Virginia Gonzalez's other children was missing. And when we say missing, we don't mean just on that day in April. We mean for years. Police say since 2017, this is that girl, Ava Marie Gonzalez. And this is a picture of her in December 2017, which was roughly the last time police say she was seen.
Police discovered that there was an 8th child who was not found inside the home. The missing 9-year-old child was identified as Ava Marie Gonzalez. Missing persons detectives determined that Ava was last seen in December 2017 when she was 2 years old and in the custody of her mother, Virginia Marie Gonzalez. Virginia Gonzalez was arrested on April 24th, 2025 for injury to a child, serious bodily injury, for the injuries sustained by her 7-year-old child. Austin Police Department's missing person detectives are seriously concerned about Ava's welfare, given the circumstances in which Ava's 7-year-old sibling was found.
And this is a picture of Ava per the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children of what she may look like today at 9 years old. She was last seen in her mom's custody in December 2017. Now, we don't know how accurate this picture may be, but police are hoping it could get someone's attention and they could send tips to the email and phone number that you see on your screen. This is what they have launched as they try to gather clues. ava@austintexas.gov and the Crime Stoppers number that you see right here. There are so many questions, certainly for the mom, Virginia Gonzalez, in this case. Police say she's given inconsistent statements to them now that she's in custody, but there's also some serious questions for law enforcement as well as Child Protective Services. Just before recording this, I reached out to APD. They told me they don't have any update beyond the information they gave to us in their media briefing last week. I also reached out to the person who's listed as Virginia Gonzalez's court-appointed attorney. I have yet to hear back from them about what their client has to say about what she is accused of. Police say Virginia, again, has told inconsistent stories in custody, and members of her family have also allegedly told inconsistent stories, according to police, and police say they don't know at this point who Ava's dad is. I want to take a moment and talk about a really important topic impacting so many people, and that is debt. This is something that doesn't just show up one day. It builds over time. Maybe it's your car loan, maybe it's your student loans, maybe it's your credit card bill. It can really leave you in a tough spot, makes you feel like you're stuck, but we do have some good news. You're not stuck. You just need a reset. At American Financing, they help homeowners like you every day. They use your home's equity and roll that high interest debt into one simple, affordable payment. They're saving homeowners an average of $800 a month. There's no judgment, no pressure, just real solutions that put you back in control. So imagine breathing again, sleeping again, knowing your future is yours to shape. It starts with one call. It only takes 10 minutes to get started, and there are no upfront fees. So it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you start today, you may be able to delay your next 2 mortgage payments. American Financing's salary-based consultants are ready to listen and ready to help. Take back your peace of mind with American Financing. Give American Financing a call at 866-891-2821. Also head over to americanfinancing.net/onthecase.
Were other family members concerned that they hadn't seen Ava for this long?
So she has provided conflicting information to many different family members. So we're hoping to get some more information and try to figure out where she is.
Has the suspect mentioned her missing child at all, or how did you come to find out that there was a missing 8th child?
She has provided us some information that we're trying to corroborate.
Do we have any other questions?
Are we talking about, do we think she might be going to school possibly? Are we talking about in the Austin area? Where might people have seen this little girl?
Certainly, the Central Texas region, but she could be anywhere at this point.
We went searching on social media to see if Virginia Gonzalez left any trail of information that could help us better understand her and understand this situation and the allegations that she's facing. And we found on Facebook someone who posted under the name Gina Gonzalez of Austin, Texas. And you'll note in this banner photo, which was uploaded in April 2017, look at that girl on the left. Look at what she's wearing. The white shirt with the flowers, the pink shorts, and the white and pink socks. That is the same outfit that Ava was wearing in this picture that police released to the media last week, dated April 2017. This is when Ava was 1.5 years old. Now, it doesn't appear that Gonzalez has posted on Facebook publicly since June of 2017. Her last post said, "Cute." This was roughly 7 months before Ava disappeared in December of 2017. But then look at this post on that same day. It certainly caught our eye. It says, "Even if we had a kid together, I don't know you. I won't claim you. LMFAO." It's unclear who she's talking about. Police said they were unsure who Ava's father was. Now, this is a man who Gonzalez appears with in multiple pictures on her Facebook page, but we don't know if he is a father to any of Gonzalez's children. We also noticed in May of 2017, she went on a rant about child support payments, writing, quote, "Baby mamas really be getting thousands in child support, WTF. I'm over here supporting my kids all alone, LMFAO. I feel sorry for y'all." Expletive. That bust your expletive at work, all to get $160 from a $1,500 paycheck. Now, one person replies to that and says, quote, "I don't get any child support. Shake my head. Shame on the women who get all that child support and still don't support their children." To which Gonzalez replies, "I know, expletive, get all that money and their kids see none of it." It is unclear at this point whether Gonzalez, back in 2017 when she posted that, or in 2025 at the time of her arrest, had custody of those 7 children that were found inside her apartment. It's also unclear if she was ever on any form of government assistance, and it's unclear what type of contact that Child Protective Services had with this family. We did reach out to CPS in Texas to see if they would give us any insight into what they know about Virginia Gonzalez and her family, what type of contact they had with Virginia Gonzalez and her family, if they ever had contact with Ava Marie Gonzalez, who is now missing. They sent us an email telling us that that information was confidential. They also told us that the 6 children who are in the home have been put in foster care. Police say the 7th, that girl allegedly locked in a closet, was taken to a hospital to recover. As far as Gonzalez's criminal history, what type of interactions she's had with law enforcement over the years, police would not comment on that, and we're still working through court records to try and piece together exactly what her background looks like. Gonzalez is reportedly in jail on a $75,000 bond. Again, we reached out to her attorney, but we haven't heard back. As far as the search for Ava Marie, here's the information that police put out and where to go if you have any information. ava@austintexas.gov, or you can call Crime Stoppers at that number right there. Joining us now as we continue to follow this case is missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. Steve, thanks for joining me once again. From what we're gathering, I mean, we know that there are at least 6, 7 kids that were in this apartment, several fathers. We don't know who the father is of Ava Marie who's missing, but nonetheless, for lack of a better term, it just seems like a very complicated family situation. How does that complicate things for investigators who are trying to kind of piece together who's involved as they're searching for Ava Marie Gonzalez, but also have this criminal case now for the girl who was allegedly trapped in a closet?
Right. So it'll, part of it'll be how forthcoming she is with investigators while, she's being interrogated, in jail. It is tricky because she's maintained the kids seem to all have the same last name, but it does appear there's multiple fathers. So are they using the mother's, name, or it gets very confusing because I'm sure there's people out there that have, tried to find out who's who, and you hit a lot of dead ends in this case just because of that, and nobody's stepped forward either yet. We know that the family certainly has got to know quite a bit, even if it's a strained family dynamic. You would think that something would have leaked out by now. I'm kind of surprised it hasn't. Hopefully they're cooperating with investigators, so we can, because ultimately it's Ava that, we need to find.
Yeah, and she could be 9 years old. She's believed to be, she would be 9 years old now. The last time she was seen was when she was 2. How do you go about this, knowing that there could be several fathers to these children that are reportedly Virginia Gonzalez's? In police during their news conference, like, they don't even know who Ava's father is, but knowing perhaps a father of one of the children who are in the apartment, how could that help them kind of track down who could be involved?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure part of it is going through, some financial records, which can be difficult because she might not use traditional banking, but you got to believe that there's possibly some assistance from that father, at least at some point, even if it's not court ordered. And then, even the other fathers, you got to believe that the fathers from the children that were born later had to, ask some questions about, who Ava's father was. Somebody must know something, and including her family, and you. It's really troubling that it took so long, and then ultimately it was the grandmother that reported the other child in the closet, but which would mean that she did have some, she wasn't totally estranged from Virginia. So why didn't the family come forward? There's just a lot of unknowns here, but I believe that, Austin PD, FBI, Texas Rangers are trying to track down exactly who was in her world around the time that Ava was born, and then, from that point forward until she went missing, and somebody's got to know something, and that includes, the older siblings.
Yeah, the oldest reportedly 14 years old. So they may, I mean, if they were, I guess what, 7, 8 years old when they
Yeah.
when Ava would have gone missing, and they might be able to remember something. And police, at least the last time I checked, which was yesterday at the time of this recording, said that they don't have any new updates at this point. I mean, you professionally, you do missing persons cases, and just for me in the last week, kind of diving into this, trying to find criminal backgrounds, this feels like a difficult case. I mean, what is it about this case that seems to make it so complicated?
Well, the biggest hurdle is going to be this time frame, and also the age of the child, because there's not really there's no digital, footprint for that person yet, and that time has passed. So all the physical evidence is gone. You can't rely on that anymore. So now it's going to be down to really relying on witness interviews and the credibility of those, and those people's memories can change. I personally think the key to at least finding a good starting spot is going to be the older siblings. Not that they would have any idea of what happened to Ava, but they, through a process with psychotherapists and whatnot, may be able to extract what you would think that those siblings had to have at some point asked, "Where's Ava?" and what they were told. She was off with another family member or whatever it may be. I mean, in the Oakley Carlson case, that's how we found out Oakley was missing, is that one of the younger when a child told a school principal that Oakley was eaten by wolves, because that's what the parents told the child when they asked where Oakley was. And so there might be something that could help them say, okay, well, she told the child that Ava was here, and then they can, have a starting spot to at least try and track those people down. Maybe they have a recollection of what they used to call that male, that father, if he was ever around, if they had a name or a nickname that they remember for him, just some starting point is what they need.
CPS, Austin Police, which might have been a notable moment in the news conferences when a reporter asked, had CPS had contact with Virginia Gonzalez, and the police representative had said, you need to contact CPS. We did. They said they wouldn't comment on it. They typically keep, these files confidential, but assuming that maybe it's the Texas Rangers or Austin Police, whoever it may be, that they have access to these files and they're going to talk to people at CPS, what type of information could they get if Virginia Gonzalez did have contact with Child Protective Services in the past?
So they can get the full report, and I'm dealing with that same situation in the Sebastian Rogers Amber Alert case. I'm an investigator on. There was involvement with CPS. What's going around in the public is not correct information, but the fact is that law enforcement does have that entire file, and so they can get it. CPS rules are written that by court order or law enforcement, and in certain times to an accused party report, they can get a copy of that. And I know for a fact that they can get the entire report. So and we don't know if they did for sure, but if they did have contact with CPS was in their lives at all, they will have full access to that report. And that will be interesting to see what that CPS investigator or caseworker, documented, whether they even knew about Ava, because we don't know if they were in their life, if it was before or after, or if they were told how many children there were exactly, and also how many birth certificates are on file,
Right.
for Virginia.
Well, and I think too, where it's unclear, we know that Ava was in custody of Virginia in 2017, according to police, but what was the custody situation for her other children, as far as what records will show? Have you ever seen custody issues like this where it's unclear who the father is, but then also at the same time, who is the custodial parent for each of these kids? Apparently there was no record of them ever being in school. That causing issues where CPS might have just been confused as to who these children were.
It's exactly what happened in the Harmony Montgomery case in Massachusetts, where there was a breakdown between Massachusetts and New Hampshire as far as where Harmony was, and nobody really knew at the time. And it had been 2 years since she had been seen. And in one CPS office thought she was in a different jurisdiction, and but actually a judge had given custody back to the birth father, and she goes missing, and nobody really picks up on it until somebody tried to file for benefits in her name. Yeah, so yeah, this can happen, and with that many children, and we don't know, if we don't know for sure if CPS has been in their life, and if not, then it's easy, I get, to relatively easy, since they were never enrolled in school. If they had been enrolled in school, there would be a track record of the student being withdrawn from school or saying they were being homeschooled from that point on, but doesn't seem to be any of that. And again, it comes back to the I have a lot of questions for the grandmother who called in
Yeah.
the 7-year-old, and thankful she did. But what did she had to have known about something about Ava, and how do you explain not seeing her for so many years?
And it seems surprising too, because if you have a 14-year-old and that child's never been enrolled in school, at least from police, but they haven't said if anything else. I mean, it's like, has this child seen a doctor? Has it, like, what medical records or any records are available for any of these children? And I know police, they were pretty tight-lipped in the news conference. What did you take away from that? That police have, they're saying Ava's missing. We haven't seen her since 2017. We didn't know she was missing, but that's really it as far as what they've put out publicly. Like, how do you use the media? How do you use the public in these situations when, I mean, certainly for me being in the media, it's easy to say, like, you would want them to have as much information as possible as people are looking for this girl.
Yeah, it's probably they're probably doing this kind of dance between, hey, we need the public's assistance if you know anything, but also we're talking about a child that went missing when they were 2, and it's been gone 7 years, and that could really spark, justifiably so, public outrage, and the case could really become a mess for them. And they're trying to track down people that most likely are type of people that you got to believe probably type of people that would flee or try to avoid the situation, and or try and coordinate stories as far as what happened. Texas Rangers are always notoriously, and the FBI for that case, very quiet. I do think there's a lot going on in the background. However, I do think that it was smart to reach out to the public, and they should keep that public outreach, because there is going to be somebody that lived next to them or knew them, and even if they didn't notice Ava went missing, if they can just say, hey, I know that I lived in this complex and during this year, and that child was there. At least it gives them. They just need some dot plots. They need to find the dots, so then they can then connect them.
What are the possible outcomes at this point that you think about, based on, and I know we don't know a lot, but knowing it's been such a long period of time, and just in your experience and cases you've covered, like, where does your mind go as to what could be that we find out eventually?
So, and it's only my opinion. I don't have any inside information on this case, but I don't think it looks good. It's, not just because of the time frame. I think that if somebody had her, if she was given to a family member or a friend or handed off, now with this public scrutiny, that person most likely knows that you got federal agencies, state agencies looking for that child. I think probably they would have come forward. But the big fear is the way that the 7-year-old was found, right? Not in good condition, locked up. So we know that Virginia has that in her heart to be able to do that to children. I just think that you got to think there's a real possibility that something awful could have happened, whether it was intentional or she just neglected the child and something happened, and unfortunately, she didn't report it.
Yeah, it's just horrific to think about. The other thing that I think about as a possible outcome, just because you do hear about cases of human trafficking, but sometimes it's more anecdotal, word of mouth. What's the reality of that? And I don't have any information on that whatsoever, but just
Yeah.
in terms of you hear that is a concern, and what's the reality though of human trafficking?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's something that could happen. With the 2-year-old, you'd be talking about traffic for the purposes of an illegal adoption or something, but that becomes tricky too. Now because of all, you got to take these children to the physicians and whatnot, and you're supposed to have this, paper trail, especially when you're first starting with immunizations, and if the child was adopted, and people do look out for human trafficking situations in, when it comes to clinics and physicians and whatnot. So I think that's less. It could listen. It certainly could happen, especially if she was living a lifestyle where she needed to get money quickly and whatnot. It's certainly a possibility. I just think in this case, seeing what we saw with the 7-year-old, being that none of the children were in school, it seems like there was already some neglect going on. I just have a bad feeling that something, I just have a bad feeling that something happened to her.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's been so long, and we have this image that's, potentially progression. So hopefully that is something that can trigger someone's memory. But there's a court case side of this. There's a criminal trial side of it. We'll see how that plays out as this search continues on. Missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher. Always great to have you on Law and Crime. We'll stay on top of the story.
Thanks for having me on.
For On the Case presented by Law and Crime, I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.